Nation Watch presents Breaking Down the Issues, a program taking a closer look at the concerns and problems affecting the quality of life of our citizens in their homes, communities, and country. Now here is your host Shurwayne Holder, Member of Parliament, breaking down the issues.
Good evening, and welcome to another program, another edition of Breaking Down the Issues. I am your host, of course, Shurwayne Holder, Member of Parliament and Chairman of the People's National Congress Reform. At this time, I just want to encourage all of us here to share the live. I see a number of persons already on the program. That's a good sign. Good night to all you folks across the country in Essequibo. Special good night to the folks in Essequibo. Not forgetting those in Linden, those in Georgetown, those in Berbice. After our program last week, I got a number of calls. A number of persons would have tuned into this program, and we had good feedback. And so it's encouraging. It encourages us to continue with this program. And as you know, the aim of the program is to break down the issues so that everybody can understand what exactly is going on in the country, who's saying what. Specifically around the leader of the opposition, we want to focus there because he's the leader of our party, and of course we are opposition activists, opposition members of parliament, and so the program is aimed at giving our views. And so what better person to focus on than the leader of the opposition and our members of parliament. In this program, we also will focus on, from time to time, although we wouldn't make it our major focus, but we will disaggregate what the People's Progressive Party is saying, what they're saying at the party level, what they're saying at the government level, and specifically the Vice President. He does press conference, if you want to call it that, every week. And so we would look at that. If we find things, if we find untruths, we find certain slants to certain issues, then we will definitely deal with that on this program. So special good night to all the Guyanese supporters, even non-supporters, persons that are on the program tonight. I see a number of persons. Mohabir, good night to you, sir. Good night to Denny Samuels, Loretta Hines, and all the other folks there, Paulette Dean, Royston Campbell, which is somebody that is always here. Special good night to you. Please go ahead and share the live. We want to start in a minute or so. So I'm just taking this time to share the live. I want to share it as well. I'll share it to some WhatsApp groups. So if you have WhatsApp groups, in certain groups that you're in, or you share it on Facebook, you can also check for us on YouTube. We're also on YouTube, so you can also share it there. Let's go ahead and share the live. We have a few topics that we want to discuss, the trending topics, the things that are in the news now, the things that are trending now, the latest development. Those are the issues that we want to go down in depth with. And so we can have a discussion on that. I see persons posting questions. I encourage you to post any comments. I can see your comments. Once I can see it, I can respond to it. I can, shed some light on anything that you might want to ask as well. I see some persons asking about Essequibo and Venezuela. That is uh, one of our major focus tonight on tonight's program. So you can go ahead and share the live and post your questions in the comment section. I see a number of persons here. Right, we're trying to get up to that magic number. Just bear with me. Sharon Anthony, good night again. I want to say a special good night to Miss Gwyneth Williams, a former nurse or still a nurse or a medical practitioner. Um, I want to say a special good night to you if you're on the live. I'm not seeing you here, but I want to say a special good night to you, Rashley Ford, uh, Susan London, number of persons. If I don't call your name, you know, good night to you as well. I can't name everybody. Roxanne Westfield. I see persons from in the diaspora as well. It is amazing how the diaspora has glued into what we have been saying from 2020 to now. The diaspora plays a very important role in supporting us in this fight, both locally and overseas. We want to say special thanks to those persons in New York, Brooklyn area. I have some relatives there as well. All those persons who have been taking the fight to this government and doing their activism there overseas. We appreciate you and we want to say thank you and to keep fighting for us as well. It would take all of us together as an opposition if we want to get government in 2025, if we want to remove the People's Progressive Party from office. It will take a unified opposition. And that means all of us are in this fight together. All of us have to come together to expose what is happening and to bring more support to the party. Some bring it in terms of finances. Some people bring it in terms of their activism on the ground. We appreciate whatever way you contribute. It goes, it sums up. And so we want to say a special thanks for that and to urge you to keep supporting our party, keep supporting our policies and taking our policies to the wider public. So just share the live. We'll start in about 10 seconds. I'm just trying to get everything in place at my end here. Now, tonight's topic, the most trending topic right now is the Venezuela situation. Last week, I would have dealt with the issue. I gave you a background to it. I gave you a brief history on the Guyana Venezuela territorial controversy. We want to use the correct terms. A lot of people get carried away and say, well, it's a border issue. Good night from Barbados. I see somebody coming in from Barbados there. Good night, my sister. Some persons from New Jersey. We welcome you same way. Brooklyn in the house as well. I have a lot of family there. I've been to Brooklyn only last year. I'm hoping to go back there soon. Yes. And I gave you a synopsis or a brief history of the controversy. And we want to use, when discussing the issue, we want to use the correct terms. A lot of people, they put out there that it's a border issue, but it's not a border issue. There is no question of where Guyana border is. Since 1899, that border was settled. That was bona fide. And both parties accepted it in 1905, both Venezuela and Guyana, and even Brazil to some extent would have participated in settling where the border should be. And so, because Brazil is down at the in the south and the southwestern area, it borders that area with Latam Region 9, and they also share border with Venezuela. In fact, Venez, uh, Venezuela would have lost some territory to Brazil when that issue was settled back in 1899. But you don't see Venezuela posting any challenge to Brazil. And that is a point that we think the government should be making, and all of us should be making, and even at the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, making our case there. That is one of the key points that we should be making, because they seem to be acting as bullies. They can't bully Brazil because Brazil is a bigger, way bigger country, and is a way more powerful country in terms of their military, in terms of their economy. And so you don't see Venezuela bullying Brazil for the territory that would have been lost due to the 1899 settlement, the 1899 agreement. But you find that they're trying to bully Guyana, little Guyana, 83. They want approximately two-thirds of our 83,000 square miles. A small country we are. We are very small economically. We are now on the rise, or we should be on the rise due to oil. We have a very small military, and not even enough manpower to man the border area. And so they're trying to take advantage of a very small neighboring country. Now, last week I would have laid out to you the position of the opposition, and that is, first and foremost, we are ready, we are prepared to support the government 100% on this issue, on this territorial controversy. Um, we, as an opposition, see ourselves as the government in waiting, and we expect that in 2 years' time, or whenever the elections are called, we expect to be in government. And so when we get in government, we expect the opposition to support us the same way. So what I'm trying to lay out to you is that this is a firm position that we are taking. There are persons out there who support the party, who think that, or who have been saying that, we should negotiate for certain things out there. But we are very clear in our heads that this is non-negotiable. This is Guyana we're talking about. This is our country. And should Venezuela invade this country, should Venezuela take territory from this country, it is not territory from the People's Progressive Party or any other political party. It is our territory, because Guyana belongs to all of us, whether we are in government, whether, well, in the executive, as in the case of the PPP, or in the opposition, because we also form part of the government. We are also lawmakers. We also represent approximately half of this population. And so we think that we are the most patriotic political party. We think that we are the patriots in the room. And so we have to do the right thing, and that is to give 100% support to the government on this particular issue. Now, it doesn't say that we cannot criticize them. If we believe that certain things are not going right, we have a duty to criticize them and to expose them. But as far as this controversy goes, we are with them. Whatever action has to be taken, we expect that they will consult with us, and that we will deal with this matter head on together in unity. And so I just wanted to clear that up because I find that persons, a few persons across the country, I had a meeting, for example, on the East Bank, and I had several other meetings with little groups, support groups, and a few persons have been asking, why are we supporting the government? But once we explain to people our position, of course, they understand what is it. We are patriotic. The PNC especially has been, we consider ourselves to be patriots to this country. And so every square inch of it, we will defend it. And if that means that we have to support the People's Progressive Party in this fight, that is what we have to do. Venezuela, both the government and the opposition is united on this matter. And that party has been in government for a very long time. The opposition and the government in Venezuela don't ever see eye to eye on any issue, on any matter in Venezuela. But they are supportive to each other on this territorial issue, this territorial controversy. And so it would be foolish, of us to be disunited on this matter. So I wanted to put that very, very clear to our supporters and to the Guyanese public at large. Last week I did criticize the government. I laid out to you some facts on what transpired. The president would have called the leader of the opposition while he was in Washington, and after that we didn't hear anything. And they seem to be going at it alone. They seem to be doing a PR stunt at that point. At least that was our view of it at that point. Fortunately, in the last few days, I believe it was Tuesday, the leader of the opposition was invited to meet with the president and his team. And so a team from our side met. I believe we had a Manzo accompanying the leader. We had MP Tabitha Sarabo Hali. We had MP Gita Chandan Edmond. And we had a veteran in foreign affairs and a senior advisor to the leader of the opposition on foreign issues, foreign matters, Ronald Austin. He accompanied the leader of the opposition. And so that meeting rather was extremely fruitful. We put a number of things on the table. We discussed a number of areas where we thought that the government need to improve immediately if we are to fight this, if we are to succeed, if we are to fight this fight and be successful in the end. So we put a number of steps that the government should take, and I think those discussions were very fruitful. Our ideas were well received, and coming out from that, there was a joint statement from both the government and the opposition on the Venezuela issue. So those persons who would not have looked at that statement, I don't have a piece on it, a pic of it, or a copy of it at my hand reach at this time. But you can look at it. It's a joint statement from both sides. Both parties would have contributed, put their heads together and contributed to that statement. One of the things we thought, and we still believe, looking at it currently, today is October 29th. We met a number of days ago. Just now it will be a week. One of the things we highlighted was that we believe that there is no proper PR or inadequate PR on this matter. People need to know what is happening. People need to know what is going on. We must have a crazy PR campaign out there, a serious campaign, PR campaign out there. Meetings need to be conducted across the country, and we need to see both opposition and government on certain platforms dealing with this matter. All of Guyana has to be united on this matter. It's the only way we are going to be successful. It's the only way we are going to prevent Venezuela from achieving their objective. And so there needs to be a proper PR to deal with this thing out there. I'm seeing little statements. The president was in Essequibo on Friday night at the Essequibo night, and he said a few things. You're seeing certain things here and there, but you're not seeing that strong PR campaign. If we were in government, we know exactly what we had to do, and we said it to them. So while we're united on this issue, we still reserve the right to bring to the public's attention and to bring to their attention what we think is not going right. And PR, public relations, public education on the matter. We need to sensitize people on the history of this controversy, the history of our country, and let people understand, over a period of time, what would have happened, what steps we would have taken, what Venezuela would have done. I said last week, every time we have elections in this country, or we're gearing up for elections, or we seem disunited as a country, they make their move. In 1958, you had that president by the name of Perez, and he was preparing to invade Guyana, to take back territory. They would have taken from us in 1966, I believe, sometime October, a few months after we got independence. They would have seized the Ankoko Islands, that whole area. And so people have got to be educated on this matter. If you want them to be fully supportive, you've got to educate them. And while doing that, you have to ensure that you're inclusive. You have to do it in an inclusive matter. You have to ensure that you're involving the opposition. Because at the end of the day, we represent 50%, or actually 50%, whatever GCOM gave to us. GCOM gave to us almost 50% of the population. And so that is one of the areas where we think that the government is asleep on. And so it is our hope. It is our hope that they look at these programs and they listen to us, listen to what we're saying, listen to our ideas, and act. Because at the end of the day, we believe that we have superior knowledge on this issue and much to offer in the interests of our country and the Guyanese people. And so we've offered to give them full support, but they have now got to act on this, on it. One of the things we think that they must do is we have to find a way to get Venezuela off that military path. Because as it is now, and I had it later to discuss, Venezuela, I would have mentioned it in last week also, Venezuela has put together a referendum. Certain questions they're carrying to the public, they have approved those questions. And one of the questions that they have is whether they should invade Guyana, take it by force. We cannot afford to have a physical confrontation, a military confrontation in this country. That is serious business. That is very, very alarming. It's very, very serious. And so the government has got to find a pathway to in which Venezuela removes the military option from the table. That can't be the solution. And so we expect that they are going to act in a way to convince Venezuela, by whatever means, to take that option off the table and remove to peaceful settlement through the International Court of Justice. One of the questions, another question in the referendum is whether they should withdraw from the ICJ proceedings. They said that the ICJ had no jurisdiction and a whole bunch of things. The ICJ recently found that they had jurisdiction. And so that case is moving on. And what is funding that case, as I said last week, and I want to remind folks, is the 18 million sign-in bonus that we got. That infamous 18 million that the PPP so often talks about, so often misleads people about. That is the same money because it's very, very expensive. It's very, very expensive. And so 15 million out of that 18 million is being used to for our pay our court costs at the International Court of Justice. And so I just wanted to put that on the table. We would have also called for a special sitting of the National Assembly. I said last week the expectation is that after Irfan would have called the leader, we expect that you would have had a sit down, a meeting between the government and the opposition, and then you extend it to the parliament. You seek certain resolutions at the parliament, at the parliamentary level. The committees also at parliament were supposed to already been activated. Well, I think now the Foreign Affairs Committee would have met just a few days ago. But those things need to happen like yesterday. They need to happen like yesterday. And so we expect, I've seen a notice in my inbox. There is a proposed date for Parliament, but I don't believe that has been confirmed as yet. But we expect an extraordinary Parliament to deal specifically, to brief all MPs and brief the nation to deal specifically with this matter. And so our call has been bearing some fruit. Another thing that we put forward and we expect is that the government must now rally support from CARICOM, well, international support, generally, expressly. But more importantly, we have to rally support from CARICOM, of which we are a member, a key member, I should add. And so we want to garner that support, obtain that support from CARICOM and all our neighbors, our neighboring countries. Now, CARICOM, there is a peculiar situation right now. I have not seen the statement from CARICOM. I'm told that there was a statement, but there is a lot of question based on what I'm told when you go through their statement. You can't interpret it. I've not read the statement, but I'm told that you're not seeing a full support. You're not seeing that in the statement. When you read the statement, it is kind of iffish. And so we've got to seek the full support of CARICOM. We've got to get it. Now, I want to explain something, what Venezuela is doing. And it's the first time that Guyana is in this peculiar situation since this territorial issue came up hundreds of years ago. It is the first time that Venezuela is seeking out individual CARICOM countries. They are looking to tie up arrangements and agreements with Trinidad, for example. They're looking to tie up arrangements and agreements with St. Vincent, with Ralph Gonzalez and St. Vincent there. They're looking to tie up arrangements and agreements with Barbados and maybe many other CARICOM countries, but at the individual level, at the individual level, they're looking to tie up arrangements. And we have not been seeing any individual statement coming from any of these countries. Remember Mia? Mia was very vocal on Guyana during the 2020 election. Mia has now lost her voice. At least I have not seen anything coming from Mia out of Barbados. What's his name from St. Vincent? Ralph Gonzalez from St. Vincent, who was very vocal and who is mixed up with the People's Progressive Party. That is no secret. He has been close with the People's Progressive Party since in the 80s, I'm told. And they're in government, and he has not said a single word in our defense. They have not issued a statement. I didn't see Trinidad say anything as well. And so we've got to be very, very conscious as to what Venezuela is doing. And that is why it goes back to the public education, public relations. The government is really, really asleep at the wheel on this issue. People need to understand what is happening. Today I was explaining to some people who were inquiring about the situation. I was explaining to them because they were saying that they wish that Maduro lose the elections over there. But I said to them, and this is something that a lot of Guyanese don't know. The opposition in Venezuela might be even more brutal on this issue. They are more militarized. They, in our view, they will be more prepared to take military action. They will be more prepared to take military action. Operator, I saw a comment on Mia there. If you can just stick it on the screen. Mia was asking the UN to remove sanctions from Venezuela. So don't expect anything from her. Faye Joseph, thanks for that. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. So you have sanctions being removed from Venezuela right now. They're flexing their muscle and they're tying up with individual CARICOM countries. And so we have got to be very, very careful. We've got to be very, very careful. You know, and we can go back to the elections, the 2020 elections. Some of these countries have always been friends with us. But because of the situation, Barbados, for example, Barbados suffered tremendously due to COVID. Remember, they depended on tourism. And once you had the lockdown, then their economy would have tumbled, have plummeted. And so they were not going to support the APNU AFC when certain powers, certain international powers were going in a different direction. So we've got to understand the intricacies, the workings of this the foreign policy. We've got to understand these issues. So Mia right now, Venezuela is tying up deals with Barbados, St. Vincent, tying up deals with Trinidad. I believe somebody said St. Lucia as well. So you can't expect these people to come out and give individual support. all these CARICOM countries should have been saying something, should have been condemning Venezuela, should be urging for a peaceful resolution, urging Venezuela to continue with the ICJ process. That is what should have been happening, but it's not happening, and we're not sure if the government has recognized this. We certainly put it to them. I will tell you this. I think after that meeting, they understand that the opposition is very, very competent in the area of foreign policy. Very, very competent. Our leader is well versed in foreign policy. That is the area where he served the longest. While during the PNC time in office, those 28 years in office, during that time he was in the foreign service, so he understands foreign policy, and he has people around him that understand, has a great has a wealth of knowledge and experience in foreign policy. So if you want to talk to anybody about foreign policy, talk to Aubrey Norton, talk to the PNC, talk to the APNU AFC. We understand this issue, and I think the government is learning that we understand this issue very well, and we're very, very competent to deal with this matter. Another thing that we have to do, we have to rally our neighbors. We have to rally Brazil. We have to rally Suriname. We have to ensure that we have ambassadors appointed to these countries. I am told, I got a little note that we don't. And so we have to move immediately to appoint ambassadors to those countries to ensure that we rally support from them. Another thing that we put on the table is that we should be closing our borders. And that is very, very obvious. We should be closing our borders. You have a hostile neighbor threatening military action, and you have Venezuelans pouring into your country. Now, we have long said, we've made it very, very clear that we will support refugees. We have an obligation. We have an obligation under certain treaties that we are a part of, that we signed to, the UN human rights, etc. We have an obligation as a country, and we're prepared to honor that obligation. But at this particular time, we have to be controlling our borders. We have to know who exactly is coming through our borders. And we see Venezuelans pouring into the country. There seems to be an increase at this time rather than a decrease. We're seeing boatloads of Venezuelans touching down in the country, and then you don't hear anything about it after. You're not hearing a single word from the government. Jagdeo comes out on Thursdays and he says basically nothing. And that is why tonight I don't want to focus on him, because when I looked at his press conference last Thursday, it's not worth it. He said absolutely nothing that made sense. These are core issues, and you need to say to the nation, what the hell is going on? What is happening? Why can't we stem the flow of Venezuelans? And we've long said that there are moves to register some of them. They're trying to say no, that is not the case. But we know we would have blocked, and we continue to block Venezuelans trying to get on the voters list. And from you trying to get on the voters list, that means you already have a birth certificate. You're already Guyanese, or you're already claiming to be Guyanese. And so we understand that issue. We understand what is happening. Now, that certainly is backfiring. If that is what they're trying to do, it's certainly It's not helping the situation. It certainly is not helping the situation. And at this time, I think it cannot be by a fluke that you're seeing an increase in Venezuelans coming into the country. Just yesterday, last night, an operator, you can pull up the video shortly. Last night, you had a boat came in to Region 2. Not far, this same community you can see, just 2 minutes from my home. A boat came in at the foreshore, the Anne Regina seawall area with 100 plus Venezuelans around 8 p.m. last night, while the Essequibo night was going on and the police were taken up there. Essequibians were pouring in on our shore, and I would have spoken with the individual that would have called the police, the individual that would have called the police and got the police out there to arrest. Most of them, I'm told, were arrested. But of course, some we don't know the number, the exact number. Some would have already left, some would have escaped into the communities. And they held them, the army and the police went down there and detained them. We don't even have a proper place, and this is another thing. We don't even have a proper place to hold these people when we detain them. They had to hold them at the fire station. Operator, you can pull up the pictures that I took today. They had them in the garage, an open garage at the fire station. I passed out there and took a few pictures of the area and got a few of them. They held them there, and while they tried to transport them, I'm not certain if they were transporting them to a police station, because no one station, one lockup could take that many, because it was 2 bus loads and they would have overwhelmed any police station. So I don't know if they were carrying them to Georgetown on the midday boat, but as they drove off from the fire station with them and they slowed down to enter the main road, to go on the main road, the people start to jump out of the buses like crazy, and many of them escaped into the community. Operator, if you can pull up some pics there and the video, I'd be grateful to give people this is the video from today. The bus stopped, and if you zoom in on the video, look right there, persons are jumping through the window, diving through the window. The other bus is up the road. They're escaping from the other bus. You can't see it in this video, but they were escaping from the other bus as well. And you see they ran all over the place in different direction. They ran all over the place. A lot of them escaped. It was like a movie today in Anna Regina. It was a lot of people, passers by, people who saw the video were in shock, because you didn't expect that. The police, they are in custody of the police, and they are jumping through the windows, escaping from lawful custody. Yet we haven't seen anything from the police. There should have been a press conference by now, a police press conference. And this is what we're talking about. People in Anne Regina, people in Henrietta, right where I'm living, and in the surrounding communities, don't know what is happening. We don't know if a bunch of criminals, Venezuelan military persons, we don't know who they are, but they are in our communities. You can check my page to see the video, to watch it again. And I'll be posting some pictures shortly of where they had them. But the point I'm trying to make, that the government is not responding. We're not hearing what is going on. There seemed to be a competence issue, because there you have two buses filled with Venezuelans, and they could jump out of those buses and run. Of course, the police will claim that they caught all of them. You see for yourself. You see for yourself what has happened here. If you believe that they caught everybody, my information says different, something different, because there were a lot of their families were outside when I passed there and I took some pictures. A lot of their family were right out there where that bus stop where they were jumping out. A lot of their families, their relatives were waiting on them, and all of them were Venezuelans. These were not Guyanese returning, they're in certain sections of society, they're saying that, these are people that come back to Guyana, and Jack Dio might go there and say the same thing. But I assure you, what I saw Venezuelans. I didn't see Guyanese Venezuelans. I saw Venezuelans. And a lot of them escaped. There is a reasonable Venezuelan um, reasonable amount of Venezuelans are currently living in these communities, living in Anne Regina and all the nearby communities. Right here in Henrietta and Richmond, where I'm living, you have a significant number of Venezuelans living here. I assume that they are here legally. I assume that they have all the paperwork. But they have a place where they can hide. They obviously would have been in contact with these people, because you had a number of them. You had maybe about 24 Venezuelans out at the park, near the Anne Regina Park, waiting to see what will happen with these people. And I assume that these were their relatives, friends, and their family. And so it is a serious situation. We certainly have competence issue right now by the authorities, because I can't see how these people can just escape just like that. And you're not seeing an increase in patrol. You're not seeing the army. I have not seen the army. There's a base 5 minutes from me here, where I am. And I have not seen the army making patrols. I've not seen that. They're supposed to be patrolling. They're supposed to be looking at the seawalls for sure. All these what you call them, special branch police. All these special branch police that they have in all these communities, they're just there to do political work. As far as I'm concerned, they're gathering information on the opposition and reporting, rather than you have them reporting on these issues. That is what is happening. So there is a clear competence issue. If we were in government, we would have been utilizing all these people. If you look at the 2021 budget, I believe they introduced a huge sum for regional police, and where it's actually a joint service body, and they introduced a huge sum at the parliamentary level. Now, we will be asking in Parliament where those sums are going, and how is this regional force dealing with this matter? What role they are playing? What role they are playing? We have to ask those questions at the parliamentary level, and we deserve answers to them. Nothing seems to be happening. We know what we would have done if we were in government. And when we get government, we understand how we will deal with this issue. And don't get me wrong, for those who would have joined a little late, we are united as an opposition with the government on this matter, in terms of giving them full support in fighting this issue. But we can't sit back and not highlight what is happening. If we believe that they're lacking in certain areas, they're asleep, then we have to call them out. We have to let the public know, and we have to put pressure on them to get it right, because this is all of us. We're all Guyanese, and this is our country. And so we expect to see patrols. We expect a reactivation of this border security group. All these things we expect to be done. We expect to hear from the president that these are the steps we're taking. Any competent government, that is what they would have been doing. That is what they should have been doing. But we want to see that. We don't want division on this issue. But we've got to get it right. We've got to get it right. We're running out of time. I actually took, it's 51 minutes. We started a little late, but I want to touch on one or two issues very quickly. We'll continue next week. And even on my Facebook page, I will continue to update the public as to what is happening and what is our party's position on these issues. But I want to move forward to the Exxon issue that is trending again, once again trending. You know, these two issues are trending. The Venezuela issue and the Exxon $214 million issue. And so the latest development on this issue is, as just as we would have said, the coordinator, Mr. Gosai, Bobby Gosai, who we saw as the fall guy in this matter, and who Exxon confirmed was caught up, as they describe it, in the middle of this issue. He was given a basic slap on the wrist. He lost, as the papers put it, and I think Jagdeo said it at the last press conference, he lost 2 weeks' pay. He lost 2 weeks' pay. So you have a guy who you allege, a government worker, that you allege illegally negotiated with a foreign company $214 million. And he took it upon himself. The minister wasn't involved. Jagdeo wasn't involved. Nobody was involved except him. And him alone. And he reduced it. He worked with Exxon. Although he hadn't the authority, nobody instructed him. And he worked on this, and he reduced $214 million to $3 million. And then when the opposition and the newspaper break the news, you turn back and say, well, you know, this guy is responsible, and you take away 2 weeks' pay from him. You know, this government is underestimating the population. They're underestimating the intelligence, or they're insulting the intelligence of the population. 2 weeks' pay? Are they serious? $214 million reduced to 11 million and then 3 million. And all you can do is to take away a 2 week pay from this fellow. It doesn't add up. And that is why we've always said as an opposition that this is the fall guy. We don't believe that it was his fault, but he's the fall guy, because the product sharing agreement, or the PSA with Exxon, says that the minister, it gives the minister the power, not Gosai, not a coordinator, not even the PS of the ministry has the power. It is the minister who is responsible. And in this case, I would go beyond Vikram Bharat. I would say Bharat Jagdeo is the person who is responsible, and that is why we call for his removal as a minister. Now, The 214 million, they're saying, other than Gosai being slapped on the wrist, given the slap on the wrist, this minimal um, this minimal disciplinary action being taken against him. The 200 we know, this is a fact that we know. Of the 214 million, about 34 to 35 million dollars, the international company that did the auditing, I think it's IHS Market, company from England, reputable company, they would have flagged $35 million out of this 240 million to say that Exxon had no business charging that to the account, to the oil account, because the agreement does not allow for that. They can't access that money. They can't spend, let's say they wanted to buy this pen, but the PSA doesn't mention pen, or it says that you can't buy pen with it. Then anytime we see pen in the bills, we flag it. And that is what would have transpired there. That is what. So there is no way that it could have been reduced. No possibility, according to the auditors, that it could go down to 11 million, much less to $3 million. At least the first $35 million had to stand. It had to stand. And so for you to come back now and use your fall guy and to make him the scapegoat, to take away 2 weeks pay, I don't know what he works for. Maybe he works for 300,000, I don't know. But to take away 2 weeks pay from him, it's laughable. It is laughable. And we will have to deal with them on this matter. We will have to deal with them on this matter. Our time is actually up. Thanks to the operator. And this piece was taken from I believe from the Chronicle. They have a way of putting it. They put it prominently. Disciplinary action will be taken against this guy. Disciplinary action will be taken against him. But the guy on the left of your screen is not responsible. Gosai alone is responsible. And you take away a little bit of cash for him and that and say don't do it again, and that's it. That is how we're prepared to lose 214 million US dollars. And that is how we deal with it. That is how we deal with it. So I'll try to wrap it up. There we're just about the hour. We're just about the hour mark. We went over a little. This program is from 7 to 8 p.m. every Sunday. And what we try to do again is to break down these issues so that you can have a little more to go at. Not just what you read in the newspapers, or you might hear the leader of the opposition say something, or Jack Dio say something. We get into the meat of it so that you can have a proper understanding, a wholesome understanding, a holistic understanding of the issue. And I trust that tonight I would have done some justice to that. I trust that I would have broken up the issues. I would have given you our party's position and perspective on these significant matters. As chairman of the People's National Congress Reform and as a member of parliament, I trust that I would have served those two offices well in sharing the information with you, giving you inside knowledge, inside information as to how we are thinking and how we, what are our thoughts, what are our policy positions. That is what we want to do on this program here. And so I'm very thankful for the folks. We had a lot of persons last week, and I'll move to check it this week again. I think we had a good audience, an interactive audience tonight, and I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us tonight on this program, and I look forward to you sharing the live even as you come off. Share to your friends, share to to the entire country, share to those overseas, share to those in and around the country, so that this program can grow, move from heights to heights. We want to take it to another level. It's a very serious program. It's not one of comedy. It's one that gives you serious information. And so we want it to grow. And so, again, I want to say thank you for joining me tonight. And I expect that next week I will see you here again and encourage others to come to this program where I can share much more with you for another hour. Next week, Sunday at 7 p.m. So thank you and good night, and do enjoy the rest of your night. Operator, we can take it from here.
Nation Watch presents Breaking Down the Issues, a program taking a closer look at the concerns and problems affecting the quality of life of our citizens in their homes, communities, and country. Now here is your host, Shurwayne Holder, Member of Parliament, breaking down the issues.